Oh,
Go erase it.
well, it's live. I'll delete
Yeah,
some stuff for you. Well, you.
cool. Yeah, you handle that. All right, what's up, guys? Sorry that you caught us in the middle of a conversation there. This is the Post Fight Podcast. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning over here in Ottawa. I've got John and Nick in South Korea and Hong Kong, respectively, joining me as always. Lots to unpack on this beautiful Wednesday. We had, of course, a one championship card last Friday, two one championship cards last Friday. Friday, if you're in this side of the world. Saturday morning, if you're in Asia. That was one fight night 8. Not the biggest card one championship has done to date, certainly, but there was some meaningful action, definitely. And then, of course, the next card is fast approaching. We're less than a month away already. That's one fight 9, and they actually just dropped the lineup for that. So between those two things and, the various other rumblings happening in the one championship world, there's lots to unpack today. I guess the obvious thing to do is to start with last Friday's card. We're still kind of digesting what we all saw there. Quite a bit of chaos with the main event there at the last minute. John, I'll chuck it to you first, man. I mean, what did you think of that card as a whole?
It was probably the weakest card, so to say, as of late, just because all the dropouts, right? Like we lost the heavyweight title fight, Rodtang pulled out, and I wanted to get into this, man. This whole like narrative in Thailand right now about Rodtang pulling out. They're saying that he's ducking Superlek, man. There's a lot of talk about that, and during the fight companion, actually, guess we had a special guest on the fight companion.
Who was that?
Savas Michael.
Oh, no
Really?
way.
He came on at the end during the super leg fight. He came on with Jada. They were at the gym. They were going to train. So he came on and yeah, he kind of agreed with that. He agreed that maybe there is something to that. Maybe Rodtang is ducking and dodging. You know what I mean? So I'm more interested in that, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm a gossip girl, but I just think like it was very very odd that he pulled out. We talked about it, I think before
We did, yeah.
the
And
event, right? But
yeah, I mean, the first comment we've got here is expressing that very thing. There's obviously a lot of buzz about Rodtang pulling out of that card at the last minute and then announcing his seminar tour, and he's got another fight in a little over a month's time. It doesn't. I mean, there's some wrinkles in his story that don't quite make sense. Nick, what do you think? Is Rodtang avoiding Superlek, or what's going on here?
I said my piece about Rodtang already. I don't want to get too much into it, but I asked Superlek about it. I said, "Did you find it strange, that Rodtang announced his seminar tour right after he put out your fight?" Superlek didn't bite. He could have said something, but he said, "No, it's absolutely fine. I think it's a separate thing to this fight." But there are questions, right? There are questions indeed. I don't know if Rodtang's ducking or diving. I don't know if one championship is saying, actually, Rodtang, we need you to be healthy for this US card because, this card is going to live or die on whether Rodtang is there. He's one of their biggest names, if not the biggest on that card, I think. Would that be incorrect? I know that sounds blasphemous with Demetrius Johnson on there, but Rodtang, don't underestimate how huge a draw Rodtang is for fight fans in the US. They love this guy now. So I'm not sure if it was Rodtang and one or both of them, bit of both, a combination, why he pulled out that fight. Maybe he really was injured. But, like I said before, going and doing a seminar tour is a bit of a bad look after that. But it might have just been a commitment that he'd already agreed to, because he did schedule that. And then he initially postponed the tour to focus on these fights. So he may have been contracted to go and do it. You never know. I don't want to blame Rodtang too much, but I haven't seen what the Thai media are saying. And what are they saying, John? That he's ducking Superlek or what?
there's a lot of chatter out there, man. A lot of chatter, and he has to face the music. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, he lives in Thailand. He fights in Asia. You know what I mean? Like there's that crowd right there. The Muay Thai crowd. They can be ruthless, right? And Rodtang has an image. He has an image to uphold, right? He's considered maybe the pound for pound best striker in one championship, right? And if he is that, if he's the pound for pound, he cannot be having rumors of ducking other fighters. It just can't be like that, right? So I don't know, man. We're fueling the fire a little bit, but going back to the original question, what
Yeah,
Tom was
what was the
asking.
original question?
It
The
was
original
the
question
original
were just kind
question
of your
was,
thoughts on the card as a whole.
yeah, the
Oh, okay.
card. The card overall, I thought, man, I give it like just out of like performance wise, I'll give it a C. You know what I mean? I expected some better fights. Like I expected the Ham fight to be better. The best fight on the card was the Rodriguez Janet Todd fight. That was the best fight. Like out of the whole card, I love that fight. That fight was incredible. Those girls went back and forth, swing of momentum. You know what I mean? Janet Todd was killing it at the start, and then what's her name? Rodriguez took over and won the last 3 rounds. It was just a phenomenal championship fight, and I think we're gonna see them fight a couple more times in the next couple of years, and it's gonna be always incredible. It's like one of those trilogies we want to see, right? And maybe what do you call like when fighters fight 5 times?
I don't know, what is that, a quintology or something?
Yeah, something, whatever it is. It's
I'm
a
just making up words over
guaquology.
here.
Yeah, what's a guaquology? I
Yeah.
think in like super series you could have those, right? MMA not so
Well, that
much.
happens all
but
the time in Muay Thai.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
fine. You know what I mean? And I think we could have that in the future.
It's interesting to hear you say that you expect to see them fight again, because I noticed a lot was being made of Janet's age right after that fight. People talking about how she's 37 and how she started strong in that fight. You know, had a good opening round, second round, and then sort of kind of fell apart in the last few rounds. I want to get into that, Nick. Let's just get your thoughts on the Superlek fight, though. Let's start at the top of the card. I mean, I think that kind of went more or less the way most people expected. A lot of people were rooting for Daniel Williams to pull off something really special, but of course, you know, it doesn't happen every time. We don't get these amazing historic upsets every time. What are your thoughts on that one? Did that go kind of more or less the way you expected?
Yeah, well, I'll just say my overall thought, like John, I thought it wasn't the best card, and it was unlucky it suffered a couple of pullouts. But yeah, I think in recent memories, maybe one of the weakest ones they've done. The whole vibe felt a bit flat, you know, all week, and then I think that main event though really perked it up. The last 2 fights really picked up the card, and you know, like John said, Todd Rodriguez was an excellent fight, and I actually really enjoyed Superlek and Daniel Williams for what it was. But like we said, I think we knew Daniel was, you know, outmatched in terms of size. He was coming up, wasn't he, in strawweight? And Superlek is Superlek. He's incredible. So I was worried Daniel was going to suffer a highlight reel KO kind of thing. And I think all things considered, it was all right. He didn't get completely, you know, he wasn't stretched out or anything. He went out with his head held high. Superlek's just too good. And it was, you know, a lot of respect needs to be paid to Daniel Williams. He saved that card, hands down, saved the card. And he steps up when he did not have to. But that's the kind of character he is. He's always going to take an opportunity. So hats off to Daniel Williams. I think it was a really fun fight for the 2.5 rounds, whatever we got. It was an incredible finish by Superlek, and he well-deserved bonus. But it just could not hide the disappointment I felt of we didn't get to see Rodtang and Superlek, you know. That's going to sting for a while until they eventually get that going again. I don't know when they'll get it going, because it could be later this year. It could be next year. You know, Rodtang's got to fight this Tabaras guy in May. Superlek's going to maybe do something else. Now Superlek wants Rodtang's Muay Thai belt, guys. He doesn't even want to defend the kickboxing belt. So will Rodtang even agree to defend the Muay Thai belt against Superlek? You know, maybe he only agreed to fight Superlek because he thought he might have an advantage in kickboxing rules. So
what do you think the best move is then, Nick? Would you rather see this, you know, assuming this fight happens after, you know, Rodtang deals with Tabaras, assuming he beats him, would you rather see Superlek challenge him for the Muay Thai title or the other way around?
Well, look, Rodtang's going to need a rest, I think, after that. I think if he is genuinely injured, it's probably because he keeps getting booked every 2-3 months for one championship. You know, I think he's been on 4 of the prime cards or something like that, or they've tried to get him on 4 of them. So, yeah, I don't think it'll happen until later in the year. Superlek, could he feasibly defend against anyone else? Not sure. It's probably going to just be Superlek and Rodtang for the kickboxing belt. Probably the 3rd quarter, like a September. They may save that for one of the bigger shows. You know, if they go back to Manila, I don't know if it's worth saving for that. But I wouldn't put this one on Lupini. You know, I'd just say I'd save it for one of the bigger shows if they're going to do the Impact Arena again in Bangkok, perfect. If not, I would stay away from Lumpini because this is the kind of fight. Rodtang, he brings people into arenas, and a lot of people, the sentiment I was hearing from people was a lot of disappointment that he was on the show. And a lot of them didn't even know until they get there, or they see it on the morning of, and then the dejection was palpable. I think a lot of fans went to see Rodtang. But One Championship, I'm not blaming them. They were dealt the cards they were dealt, and they put on the best show they thought they could do. So I still enjoyed it, but yeah, not the best show in terms of quality, quantity. Sometimes this happens, guys. Though you can't always put on incredible cards, and I would say I'm sure they'll be back next time, but the next card looks pretty weak as well. So yeah.
Well, we'll get into that next card soon. Nick, as I said to you, that was sort of my perception after this card as well. The UFC, which has been around much longer than one, occasionally has cards like this where, initially they look quite good and things just fall apart and, they scramble to fix fights and make new matchups. And sometimes it just doesn't work out as well as you want it to. And you just kind of have to take the loss and move on, I think, in these situations. And as for Rodtang, if I can just jump in and offer my thoughts, I personally don't think he is avoiding Superlek. I think he's a guy who maybe needs to manage his time better or, get people around him that help him manage his time better because I think he's just doing too much, man. I think, between the wedding, the seminars, 2 fights, he's been fighting, he bought a house for his mom a little while ago. He bought a house for himself. Like he's a busy guy.
He was ordained as a Buddhist monk as well.
Right, right. I mean,
2 weeks
this guy's
he was
cramming
living with no possessions, and
yeah. He's cramming like a lifetime worth of living into like several months here. So I think maybe he's just doing a little more than he should. But let's circle back to this Janet Todd and Alicia Rodriguez fight. Great fight. And I think most of us agree kind of saved the card in a lot of ways. The main event was great too, but especially after that Ham and Hirata fight, which was not great. The Alicia and Janet fight really was kind of the injection of excitement I think we all needed. John, you said you expect them to fight a few times. I think that's a great idea. I'd love to see that happen, but probably not right away, right? I mean, presumably they will do other things in the meantime before they fight again. The obvious wrinkle is that Anissa Meksen seems to be on the outs with one. What do you guys think is next for Alicia now that she's unified those titles? I mean, what's the move here? John, you want to start?
It's hard to say because it almost would be perfect to have Anissa come in and fight Rodriguez. It just sucks that they're on the outs, man. It just sucks that they can't see eye to eye. It just sucks that she's been treated the way she's been treated, and we don't even know if it's all like her fault or One Championship's fault. They're both probably at fault. They probably both did things wrong in this situation, but the worst part of it is we're probably never going to see her fight one of these girls. That's what we wanted at the end of the day, right? We wanted that matchup. We wanted to see Anissa come in and fight the best girls in this promotion, and we probably won't even get to see that. So it's like, where does Rodriguez go? Who is a number 1 contender? They don't even have rankings for the division. So it's like, who are they going to put in there? It's unless you really, really know and watch and pay close attention to this division, the atomweight division, it's just hard to say. Maybe she goes and fights somebody that has a couple wins and defends the title, I guess. But the fight that we want, we're not gonna get, it seems like.
Yeah, you mentioned the rankings. I'm just going to chime in on that real quick. I feel like they almost need to do away with the rankings for now until they can fully flesh out rankings for every weight class. Because, I mean, it's, that they don't have rankings for some divisions and they do for others. It's just kind of confusing, and it makes it seem like some divisions matter more than others. But that's an issue for another day. Nick, you've been following this Anissa Meksen drama as close as anybody. Is it possible that One and Anissa squash their differences and that this fight with Alicia can be made somehow, or is it time to move on? What do you think?
All right, I may be wrong, but I heard from someone that Chatri had commented on some post on Instagram somewhere, and I have no idea which post by who. Someone asked, what's next for Alicia? He said, I want Alicia v. Stamp. I think Alicia v. Anissa Meksen. I think that's what he said. Or it might have been Janet versus Anissa Meksen. He mentioned Anissa Meksen's name is what this person told me he had commented somewhere on Instagram. So he must have some faith he can bring her around. You know what? Maybe Anissa is playing a mind game or waiting game. And now they could just say to her, look, do you want this fight with A, Janet, or B, Alicia? We'll do it in July or wherever. I don't know. She may say, okay, well, I'm still going to go fight this MMA in Ares. Is it Ares or Ares? I never know.
I think it's
Whatever.
Aries, but I don't know
Okay.
for sure. It could be an acronym. I don't know.
Yeah. So they may just say, all right, we'll let you do that so you can keep sharp, and then we'll put this fight on for and as like a thing to make up. Yeah, we'll let you do that, and then we can do this kickboxing fight or Muay Thai title fight in third quarter, in September. I don't know, something like that. I could see Anissa agreeing, especially because there's going to be a very lengthy legal battle, I'm sure, if she proceeds with going and fighting in Ares, and one's not going to back down. The best thing for both parties is to just give Anissa what she wants and what she deserves, which is a title shot in some form. And look, if they don't, I think you can do an interim that they can find someone for Anissa to murder on a show somewhere. They've done it with other people. I think they did Tawanchai and Nicholas Larson. Nicholas Larson was a debutant in one. He's gone 0-3 now, like the guy, but Tawanchai was always going to beat him. And then Tawanchai went on to beat Pet Morika. They could find someone for Anissa to beat up and for an interim title. I'm pretty sure they could do that. Or if not, they could find someone for her to have a competitive fight with. There are plenty of people out there. Just got to look. I'm sure they are looking, Okay,
there's this
Chatri
girl,
deleted that. Apparently.
Yeah, apparently. There's this girl, what's her name? Petjija, I think. I don't know how you say it. She fought I think she's fought maybe on two of the Friday Fights cards now, or maybe just one.
Some people were mentioning her, right?
Yeah, but she seems very good. I don't know if she's on Anissa's level necessarily yet, but I think she's as tough a challenge for Anissa as, Marie Rumet or something at this point. There are fights for Anissa.
Anissa just wants the belt. She's a serial champion. You know what I mean? I'm not saying she likes to eat cereal. She's just constantly wants to be seen with a belt on her shoulder, her waist. 18-time world champion. She has not had a belt in one championship now for 3 years, whatever it is. I know the pandemic played a part in that. Get this woman a belt. It's good for her look. It's good for one's look. Anissa's got a big social media following too, and that always helps you, I think, in one. She's not played particularly nice, let's say, to put it lightly, when it comes to playing by the rules or being genial, but she is that damn good. You give her what she wants. So I would find a way, whatever you can, to get Anissa Meksen back on ones in the good books, or let's patch this up. Let's do this fight. I think Anissa v Janet, we need that one first, and then you go Anissa v Alicia in whichever, if she wants to go for the Muay Thai belt as well. But they are teammates, obviously. Phuket Fight Club, so that'll be tough. Anyway.
Well, it seems like people hold.
There are no teammates. There are no teammates there, so they'll fight each other. I guarantee you that.
I'm sure they would too.
Yeah, I like that. I like what you said, Nick. Have her fight Janet Todd. Give her that title shot. If she wins, have her fight Rodriguez. Because like you said, she's a serial belt holder. That's what she likes to do. She likes to carry around belts. Give her those options. And if she goes in and does it all, then we could applaud her. And one championship looks beautiful, right? They look beautiful. And now you got rematches that you could put on, right? You got other fights you can continue. We need to pump women into these title fights, right? We can't wait too long. The cards are getting weak. Like last week's card was weak. The upcoming one is not so great either. You know what I mean? We need more title fights like this and more storylines. So I think that's the best call for action.
And if they took that strategy too, where Anissa fights Janet first and then potentially Alicia after, by that time, that's, conceivably a year at least between those two fights. By then, hopefully there's new contenders waiting in the wings who deserve a title shot. Petjija maybe has kind of made a definitive statement that she should be next for a title shot. I think that's a great strategy. I saw someone ask what's wrong with just giving Anissa a title shot. Nick, I think you kind of touched on it. She hasn't played by the rules already exactly as a non-champion, right? Do you really want to give this woman one, potentially two belts if she's going to sit out, if she's going to protest, if she's going to rail against them every time she doesn't get what they want, potentially hold 2 divisions hostage. I kind of think that might be part of the concern with one, honestly, but just speculation. I don't know. I think that's probably enough about Anissa and these girls, though. What do you guys say? Anything else to say?
Well, yeah, Alicia, I don't know what would be next for her. I asked her, she didn't really seem sure. I think she just wants to, she's gone back to see family now. I think let her enjoy this moment. She's really been preparing for this fight for, well, they both have really for years, but a long time, yeah. So I think Alicia's going to take a break. You know, it's very intense, the whole build up to that. Having it nearly happen in Manila in December and then called off at the last minute must have also been very tough for her. So I think Alicia will sit out a little bit now. I don't think she's got a long list of contenders ready to go. So maybe build someone up to face her. But my God, she looked incredible. I just want to say she was so good. Completely, I got that prediction wrong. I thought Janet was going to get something there, but Alicia shut her down. Really impressed by her. And she's so young, you know, she's still 24, I think. And incredible. Like the room for improvement there. She could be something extremely special, I think.
Yeah, and you go ahead, John.
She's a murderer, man. Like she marches forward, she sits back like the first round, kind of figures you out. You know what I mean? And that's what she did. Or maybe she was shaking off the rust. I don't know. But once she got into second gear, there was no stopping her. She went in there and just did damage, it was awesome to watch. I almost forgot like how good she was. You know what I mean? Because it's been so many years since she fought last. I just hope she's not going to sit on the sidelines again. You know, for some odd reason that she doesn't fight. Like I think she should be fighting. These Muay Thai fighters, they should be fighting every 2 months. That's what they're used to doing. Why are they not doing that? You know what I mean? And it goes back to Rodtang. Like he should not be pulling out of fights. That's why they double book him, because that's what Muay Thai fighters do, right? They fight often. And I hope she comes back and fights more often. A champion in Muay Thai should be fighting at least 4 times a year, right? If they don't get injured. So
yeah,
hopefully it does.
Well,
I
said,
just
man. You know,
feel there's no one for her to fight. There's no ranking of her division. Like there's no pathway. We don't know.
Just throw her somebody, Nick.
I think it'll be a stamp rematch or Petjija. And you know, speaking of layoffs,
tied up, you know, she got all this MMA going on, and
that's true. But you know, they had her for that, you know, Anissa fight recently. They're obviously still willing to use her in a Super Series context. I think that she may be next for Alicia or Petjija, this woman that everyone's talking about. John, you raise an interesting point, though. You know, speaking about sitting out, I think one sort of, I don't want to call it a silver lining, because it's not like I really wanted Janet to win particularly badly or anything. I wasn't rooting for anyone in that one necessarily, but one good thing about that outcome is it kind of forces Janet to defend that kickboxing title, which she hasn't done yet, right? So, you know, hopefully the atomweight division gets moving now that or the Muay Thai division gets moving now that that title's been unified. But also, it seems like the only option for Janet now, whether it's against Alicia, whether it's against Anissa or somebody else, is defending that kickboxing title and getting that division moving. Speaking of titles, let's move on to the Ham Seo-hee and Itsuki Hirata. That was, I think, you know, maybe the most anticipated fight on this card, just as far as, you know, general perception goes. It seems like most people were talking about that one. Of course, there was some heat on it because of the weigh-in drama last time in November when they tried to fight. Itsuki made weight this time. A lot of hype, a lot of anticipation, and then the fight just sort of fell flat. And if I can start by offering my thoughts, I feel like the blame kind of lays solely on Itsuki for that one. I don't want to drag her too hard, but she, you know, it seems like she didn't have a game plan beyond kind of shooting for single legs and cocking the right hand, which she didn't even throw that much. It's just like she was just loading it and waiting and not throwing it. It seemed like she had no real strategy in that one. And I wonder a bit if it's maybe because she was jumping from gym to gym, you know, doing some training in the US, some in Japan. Like, I don't know what the solution for her is, but that was a disappointing fight. But Ham Seo-hee did win convincingly. And now sounds like she'll fight for an interim title next. Nick, you were the one that got that little tidbit out of Chatri. Let's start with you. What did you think of Ham Seo-hee's win? And do you like the idea of an interim title shot for her next?
I do like the idea of the interim title shot, and I'm glad Chatri didn't dodge that question when I asked him, because it would have been the easy option, given, you know, the tough situation surrounding Angela. I thought he gave a great response, saying, you know, I'll obviously call Angela up and get her blessing, but this division has to move on, and it really does. I think we'll see the same with Christian's divisions too. But yeah, Ham deserved the title shot. I think you could argue she deserved one on debut, you know, coming in with the kind of record she has and the prestige. So they I wouldn't say they've been messing her around, but she got a little bit of a rough deal so far in one. You know, the second Zambawanga fight didn't really do anything for anyone, and then the Itsuki drama last November. So I'm glad Ham is back on track, and looks like she'll fight the winner of Stamp and Elise Anderson. So that's really cool. I'm happy with that. Ham's performance, that didn't set the world on fire either, to be honest. But I don't think she could do much about it. As she said to me, you know, takes two to tango, essentially. So I don't think Itsuki was too keen to actually engage with her, and Ham just did what she had to do. I don't blame Ham for the fight not being exciting. I blame Itsuki a little bit like you did there, Tom. So overall disappointment for the fight, a lot of drama going in and a bit of a grudge match. So it felt very flat live. I don't know what it looked like for you guys. I mean, John, you were running the Fight Companion. Was it a bit of a stinker there as well?
Like a big turd? Not really that bad, but you know what it is. I told you guys last week on the podcast, Itsuki Hirata she's just the Japanese version of Paige Van Zandt. I'm telling you guys right now. We saw it. You know what I mean? Like, what was she doing out there? She had no plan B. You know, she just had like two moves and that's it. And I don't understand what else. You know, Herb Dean gave her the yellow card in that fight. And I've never seen Herb Dean give anybody any cards, right? Maybe the chronic card in California, that's about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's very confusing, like, what she's going to do next, because she could possibly beat a lot of the girls, right? Like the lower level girls in the division, but she can't hang with the higher level girls, man. Like, but the confusing part is she beat Elise Anderson, right?
Mhm.
Who's fighting Stamp next. And if Elise Anderson wins that fight, she's gonna be fighting for the interim title. It's very odd, right?
I don't know that Elise will actually fight for the interim title if she beats Stamp. I think this is setting Stamp up for a title shot. Certainly, if she wins, she'll get it. But I don't know that Elise will get it. I think if Stamp win or if Stamp loses, they may go another direction for Ham. I'm just speculating. But John, you raised some good points about Itsuki, and you know you've done a lot of training yourself. You've been around a lot of gyms, spent a lot of time in a lot of big gyms. What's the answer for her? Like, I get the sense when she does these trips to New York City to train and stuff, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it seems like she's doing a lot of kind of touristy stuff too, you know, having fun, taking pictures. That's all great. But it's like, are these real training camps? Are they vacations? Like, what does she need to do? Does she need to settle on one gym and put in like a real hard training camp at a world-class gym? What does she have to do to kind of live up to the potential that people originally saw for her?
Well, we need to figure out like what type of fighter is she? Is she the type of fighter that's going to go chase after the belt and fight the best fighters in the division moving forward, or is that what the promotion wants for her, and she's just doing what the promotion is doing, and they're just pushing her into the spotlight like that? Because if she wants to be, you know, a fighter that wants to be like on Instagram and be more of the social media starlet or whatnot, I don't have no problem with that. I think that's fine. If you're going to get your money like that, get your money like that. But the promotion needs to give her matchups where she can come in, draw that attention, bring in the crowd, and win the fights, right? She doesn't even have to. She could fight, you know, one championship is not going to cut her. You know what I mean? It's not like they're going to cut her. So they need to give her favorable matchups. You know what I mean? Matchups where the skills are equal, you know, and then she could build her skill set a little bit better and take the long road. Because she's 24, I believe.
Yes,
she's
I think
very
23
young.
only, yeah.
23, yeah. So it's like she has so much time. Ham Seo-hee's like 10 years older than her. You know, it's just she has so much time to develop. And if she wants to, you know, maybe throughout that time, she could find that fire to become a world champion. You know what I mean? Because right now what she's doing is not working. And if she's going to New York to train, because I remember her corner in her last fight were completely different from her corner in this fight. Like there was 3 random guys I never even seen before. Maybe those were coaches in New York, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But
yeah.
it's just like very confusing. If she's determined, right? I would like for you guys to do an interview with her now, like in the next couple of weeks, one of you guys, and ask her, like, what is your goal? You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to focus on? Like, do you want to be a world champion? Like, what's your goals by the age of 30? Like, what do you want to do? And then figure that out first. And then, okay, figure out the, you know, the training situation. Because if she wants to be a world champion, she has to go somewhere that's going to like develop her into a world champion. Right. And maybe she takes some time off and figures that out, or maybe she takes some time off and just focuses on her skill set and goes and trains at, it doesn't matter where she's training, to be honest with you, but wherever she's training right now and the people that's around her, it's not helping her at all, because we saw it in this fight. Like, I thought if she had something more to her arsenal, the fight would have been much better and much more competitive. But Ham, she knew exactly what Itsuki was going to do the whole time, right? And it was just like she was just sitting back and waiting for it. And then just, you know, countering it and doing damage where she could do damage. I you know, like, Ham not finishing the fight was kind of frustrating to me, but I understand like why she didn't finish the fight, because she didn't want to risk losing, you know, and doing something stupid, right? But maybe she's second guessing herself too as well. It's like, why would you second guess yourself against Hirata? Like, you have like so much more experience than her, well-rounded fighter. I don't know, man. It's Hirata. It's frustrating, but like I said, she's the Paige VanZant of one championship at this point right now. Maybe she can become something else, but right now that's what we have on our hands, and hopefully I hope she doesn't stay that way, because she'll just disappear into the ether, and next thing you know, she's doing bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah, well said, man. It feels a bit silly to focus so much on Itsuki given that she lost this fight, but you know, the fact for me is that we know what's next for Ham Seo-hee. You know, she's going to be fighting for the interim title, whether it's against Stamp or Anissa or Lisa or somebody else, right? Yeah, I mean, we know what the road ahead holds for her, but for Itsuki, it's very mysterious at this point. One more question about her then, and Nick, I'll pitch it to you. She talked before this fight about moving up a division to strawweight. Does that seem like a fix for you? Is that a good idea for her, you think?
Yeah, I think you may as well at this point move her up to strawweight, but then, yeah, that's a similar problem. She's not going to beat Zhong Jingnan, right? And I think there's a few others knocking around there, like Meng Bo and Tiffany Teo. I wouldn't really be confident of her beating either. So at the top end of that division, is she going to fare much better? I'm not sure. But if she's going to struggle to make weight and then look this bad, is it worth it for her? Maybe try the strawweight thing, give her someone favorable, see how she goes, get her a win, get the confidence back for sure. She's still obviously a big draw for them, and I think Ham took a lot of pleasure in shutting that down. You know, I think it was very obvious that Ham didn't like that Itsuki got all the attention, and Itsuki mentioned that, I think, on the vlog. I watched the One Championship vlog pre-event, and Itsuki said something like, "Oh, Ham's just jealous. I get all the attention," and I'm paraphrasing, but yeah,
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I love that she said that.
Yeah, she's playing up to the cameras a bit, but yeah, Itsuki is a darling of the fan base, and I think One Championship like her. She brings in a lot of social media impressions, things like that. She's obviously, you know, we know why she's very good looking and she fights well. So if it all clicked into place, she could be a superstar, like an Angela Lee level. But I think Angela would handily beat her. You know, I really think Angela would have no problems against her. But I think that's a fight that they would like to do eventually. If Angela comes back, Itsuki versus Angela, I think they've dreamed of that for a while. But you never know. I think strawweight may be the best option now, and she did mention it to both of us, right, Tom?
Well, last kind of thought on this. Assuming that Ham Seo-hee goes and fights Stamp Fairtex, Stamp beats Elise Anderson in May. Who do you guys have in that one? Stamp versus Ham. That's a big fight for one if that happens for a title, a huge fight. And, you know, you think about Angela potentially coming back in a year's time or whatever to kind of unify the titles with that interim title, setting up some huge title fight opportunities here. But it all starts with this potential Ham and Stamp Fairtex fight. Who wins that one, John?
That's going to be a dog fight. That's going to be a good one. You know what I mean? Because Stamp, she's proven to us that she's an all-around fighter. Like she can do everything. And maybe Ham's age is going to catch up to her. We don't know. That could be possible in this fight because one thing is Stamp will try to finish her, right? She's not going to play hide and go seek in that fight. And Ham is going to be forced to dig deep, I think, in that fight. I think we're going to see one of those, like, oh my God, like one of those fights, those crazy championship fights. I'd have to give Ham the edge in the fight just because of experience and the strength of schedule. But Stamp has surprised us so many times to the point it's like now it's not going to be surprising if she beats Ham. And if she does beat Ham, man, that's a huge notch on her belt, her championship belt, right? Because she'll have one, an interim belt. That's a fight that I'm really looking forward to. I can't wait to see that fight if it does happen. But Stamp has to beat Elise first.
Of course, right. And that's that's what Darkseid said here, and that's actually what Itsuki Hirata said last time I spoke to her about this fight. She thinks Elise is going to beat Stamp, and I think a lot of people are starting to lean that way because, as Darkseid said, she is a BJJ specialist. She's a great grappler. She's quite strong. I think those things really will matter against Stamp. Nick, having said that, if we get Stamp versus Ham, if we get, how does this all shake out? Who's going to be holding the interim title by the time, the next couple of months are over?
I just want to say I can see Elise Anderson clipping this podcast up, putting it on repeat with you guys saying you don't see her winning or whatever.
We deserve it. We deserve it. I'm happy to eat crow, man. Prove us
Did we
wrong.
say that?
No, I'm just joking. I think a few people we initially were looking past Elise, and then you did come back at the end and say let's not count her out. So that I was going to make that point. Yeah, we it's not certain, right, that Elise is going to lose this fight. So let's see how that plays out. And I know that Elise feels kind of disrespected and overlooked. Even going into the Grand Prix, I think she mentioned to me, "Oh, I was watching this podcast and they said like I got no chance of winning it." I think that was our podcast. She didn't realize she was talking to us. So that was pretty bad. But
she just hasn't been around as long, man.
Yeah. I think Stamp. I would probably back Stamp to win. But stranger things have happened, and then I think you have to do Elise for Ham. Then and even if they don't see that as the money fight, got to do it, I think, because in theory, Elise will then go up to number 1 in the rankings. So
that's a good point. Yeah, but then you
got
got
at least
there
number
too,
2, right? At least
number 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out over the next few months and who is holding that interim title when all is said and done. Who's waiting for Angela, presuming she comes back? It's going to be really interesting to see, and I think we're going to get some fun fights between now and then. As we've said, many times, this card last Friday was not great. There are probably a lot of fights we can gloss over. Some good results for sure. Some newcomers making statements, but I think one that we should definitely touch on is Zhang Paiman, winning his fight against a newcomer. But it was a fun fight, and Zhang looked amazing. He was landing incredible combos in that fight, and right away after the fact, set his sights on John DiBella, who we know watches this podcast occasionally, is a friend of this podcast. Nick, I mean, that's got to be the fight to make now, right?
I think so, yeah, and it depends where. If perhaps they can get back into China by the end of the year. China's opening up again, finally. I do live there, so I know for a fact, not in the mainland, but I think that could be possible. And maybe they have gone to Beijing. I think it was before in the past, or was it Shanghai? Can't remember. But yeah, maybe you do Zhang Paiman versus John DiBella there. That would be a pretty sick main event. I really think that John DiBella has been done a bit dirty, to be honest. To beat some guy and then to beat the challenger, and then watch your defeated challenger then fight before you must be tough to watch. Jared Brooks is going to do it in a few weeks, watching Hiroba Minowa and Wokang Matagnani fight potentially for the right to face him again, which is weird. So I don't know why they've sat DiBella out. DiBella would come and fight probably on this next card. We'll touch on that soon maybe, but DiBella v Zhang, yeah, I'm here for it. Zhang looked really good. He looked awesome. Got the bonus, which is strange without a decision. You don't see that too much, but excellent performance. I thought he battered poor old Terepchi Dongak up, and yeah, I think he deserved that money. But that's a tasty fight. But I think John DeBella may feel a little bit salty, guys, and he's probably feeling like they're trying to set up Zhang to get the belt, and he maybe ruined that narrative the first time around. So there's plenty of spice to this one. I think I would like to see it again.
Yeah,
and it was very close fight. Sorry.
It was no. Continue, man. It's one of those fights that or a situation rather. I think I think John was probably I'm certain he was watching that fight, Zhang's fight last week, and I think he was probably already a bit frustrated that the guy he just beat was fighting before him. But then to see him get a bonus too, it's not just that JDB's missing out on paydays here. He's missing out on the possibility, the opportunity to get bonuses, and to see Zhang get back in there, get that 50,000. I mean, it's got to sting a little bit. So I would certainly understand if JDB is getting a little bit frustrated, and I hope they can put that rematch together soon. Now, John, unless you have something to add about that one, I wanted to ask you about Kito Yamakita, who came in one debut, beat Alex Silva, the former champion, fairly decisive win. I thought he looked really good. I think if I recall when we talked about this fight beforehand, you knew a bit about this guy. What's the future hold for him?
Oh, he's getting a title shot. Right? Like the division is like
he beat the guy.
Like, he beat the guy, right? The former champ, a guy that was Chatri's jiu-jitsu coach, you know what I mean? Like I think that means something in the division. Jokes aside, the kid looked phenomenal. Like Alex Silva is probably one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in multiple divisions down there in the lower weights, and the dude stayed out of all the submissions, dominated on the ground, took the fight to where Silva would have his best chance at winning, right? And just controlled him. Like it was just it was a great performance. Yeah, I think that the kid should be matched up with somebody that could lead him to a title shot, because right now I don't really know who would be next to, there's I think Bokang is fighting in the next upcoming one, right?
Yeah, he's fighting Hiroba Minoa, yeah.
Yeah, so he should be lined up probably, but then you got him coming in. I think you should line him up with somebody in that top 5 and fighting. I think you should catapult him right away. Why not? You know what I mean?
What about like Gustavo Ballart? Does that make sense to you?
I don't know. Maybe both those guys are. Whenever Gustavo fights, it's a good thing. So it would be a good challenge for him, of course, man. I think Gustavo's always a challenge just because of how compact he is for anybody, right? Yeah, that'd be a good fight. But going back to Zhang, man, Dongak is actually a pretty good fighter. That fight, I know it's a unanimous decision, but he was throwing heat too. You know what I mean? I give credit to him. The guy came in, made his debut against a former title challenger, and I thought he looked pretty good. But yeah, going back to Ketakoma or whatever his name is, the kid is good. He's legit, and I like him. I like him a lot.
As I called him on the Instagram story, I did a post of his weigh-in. I couldn't find his post, his profile. I've now found it. But I wrote Kato Yamakita, but it auto corrected to Keith Yamakita, so it could be his new nickname.
That's his name now.
Big
That's
Keith,
his name. He's Keith now. He's Keith.
Yeah.
That's Keith Yamakita.
Big Keith coming for your teeth, man.
Yes.
All right. Well, we don't have to spend a ton of time on the rest of the fights, but there were a few that I think we should touch on. The undercard concluded with 2 Muay Thai fights. We had Eddie Abasolo taking on Nicholas Larson. Nick, as you said, Larson, took a tough L in that one. It was his 3rd loss in one after fighting Talanchai in his debut. Been a tough road for him, but let's talk about Eddie Abasolo, because that was a nice performance, man. It was kind of like a counter fighting performance. Like I really liked his game plan in that one. He was, every time Larson came in, he was just clobbering him. John, you seem fired up about this one. What did you think about that fight?
The kid can scrap. The kid can scrap, man. Like Nick Larson, he's also a former title challenger as well, and the kid went in there and took him out like violently. Like he's another kid that should be catapulted as well, right? Yeah, when you got guys that win like this against like former title challengers, you need to like push them a little bit, right? Because like you said, a lot of these divisions are kind of light. So why don't you push them into, guys that are coming off losses that are at the top of the division or something, right? To see how good these guys really are, especially in the Super Series. Because in the Super Series, a lot of these fighters are coming in with a lot of fights already. It's different from MMA, right? A lot of fights, a lot of experience. So I think you're able to like push them into harder fights or higher level competition. Eddie Abasolo, man, I call him Han Solo. That's his new name. I like him, man.
That's a good one, man.
He looked great, man. I think he surprised. I think he surprised. He surprised the most out of anybody on this card.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Nick about it. Like, I was really impressed right after the fact. I really didn't expect a ton from him in that matchup. If I'm being honest, I didn't know what to expect exactly, but I wasn't expecting that. And it was a nice knockout, man. That was an impressive performance. Nick, unless you have anything to add about that one, I wanted to ask you about the fight before that.
I'll add on Eddie that one, I was stuck outside the arena when he was fighting, so I didn't see it. And then you told me it was a sick KO. So I checked out the highlight and it was a sick KO. Two, Eddie, he did miss weight, so we have to take that into fact. He was coming down from lightweight.
I forgot about that.
Where he lost to Liam Nolan last time we were in Singapore together, Tom, in November, I think. And he didn't look too great in that fight against Nolan. So I think this is more his home if he can make this weight. It's tough when you're coming down, especially, and we'll see. You see if he can get things right, he could be very, very interesting in this division. Seems like a really cool guy as well. I think you're going to interview him.
I was just going to jump in there and say, actually, I'm interviewing him on Friday, so that should be coming out shortly after that. I'm excited, man. I hope he's a good Hans. Yeah, Han Solo, man. I'm excited. I hope he's a good interview because he's a good fighter for sure. There's no question. That really impressive knockout. There's just there's no two ways about it. He looked really good, man. The counter striking was on point.
I think Dark Side says he looked outsized 170. He was a lot smaller than Liam Nolan, and Liam's a tall guy for that division. But I think Eddie's more at home here if he can make 155.
He looked a little shorter maybe than Larson, and a little bit, Larson was longer, but I seemed like he kind of made up for that by being, a stockier, stronger fighter for the weight class. So I think if he can make weight, he could definitely make some noise. But I do want to talk about Iman Barlow. Nick, I know you were excited to watch her. Made a statement, obviously.
Another one I missed. Look, I got to the arena really late because I thought it started at 8 a.m. So I woke up, I was showering, got out the shower, and then I saw some tweet like, "Oh, here we go, we're about to start." I was like, "Oh goddamn, I'm still in my hotel room." So I just ran down. I think I was in the elevator with Itsuki Hirata. She was about to head to the arena, but it was weird. Anyway, I got there eventually. I think so. I missed Iman, and as soon as I got there, I started unpacking my camera in the backstage, and Iman came in, and we did an interview. So I just went in blind to it, but I heard she did well, and you want to finish, don't you? But catching is tough. Anyway, I think she did what she had to do, and you could give her a title shot next, or you could maybe give her Jackie Buntan for the winner faces Smiller. But Iman is also up for kickboxing as well. She's one of those women who can do everything, and I think there's a good chance we'll be seeing a lot more of her. Yeah, and she did have a little bit of trouble making weight. She needed her third hydration test, I think, with about 15 minutes to go. It was touch and go, really, but I'm sure that'll get better with time. And I think she's a real. She could be a problem in this company. Not for anyone there. I mean, probably the fighters. She's very opposite of Anissa Meksen in terms of being difficult to work with. She just seems very, like she's down for anything, and she's very, fun to chat to. Her dad's a coach as well. He's a really nice guy, and they're both cool people. I enjoyed meeting them, and I can't wait to see her back. Yeah.
I wouldn't say she had a perfect performance, but she made Vandrieva look mediocre. I thought Vandrieva had no answers in that fight. It was pretty clear from early in the first or second round. It was clear which way that was going. And then the first fight of the night too. I think we should just touch on it while we're here. And I think there's kind of a logical segue into the next card actually here. first fight of the night was a 10-minute grappling match between Bianca Basilio and Tammy Musumeci, who, as her name suggests, is Mikey's sister. Objectively, not a very exciting fight. It kind of set the tone for the card in a way, in a lot of ways. Like it was just not a strong start to the card. The other controversy was that I think this was the first grappling match one has done where they have this new rule about guard pulling. They don't want you scooting into guard. They don't want you aggressively pulling guard. Kind of seemed like the fighters didn't fully understand the rules almost ahead of time, because Tammy kept trying to do that and kept being warned. And then in the end, for anyone that didn't see it, she won a decision based on more legitimate submission attempts. This is sort of a gray area for me. I mean, what exactly qualifies as a legitimate attempt? Who's deciding? Because Basilio had some attempts that I would say were as close as Tammy's, and she didn't have all the warnings for guard pulling. It was kind of just a weird matchup and not a great one. Not weird in a good way. John, I'm gonna pass it to you because I know how you feel about these ones. With the small note, though, I mentioned a segue into the next card. There's no grappling on the next card, and I'm wondering if maybe that was a conscious decision. What did you think of this grappling match, John? And how excited are you that there's no grappling on the next Prime Video card?
There's no grappling on the next one. That's fine with me. I'm not going to argue against that. The grappling match, this one, yeah, I didn't even know going into it, watching it, that you couldn't pull guard, and that was the new rule heading into this. And Lady Buscemi, she didn't understand either. That's what I call her, Lady Buscemi. Her brother Steve Buscemi. If you understand what I'm talking about,
I got you.
But yeah, it seemed like Bianca won that. I don't understand how Lady Buscemi won that grappling match.
I thought so too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't understand why you can't pull guard. This is a grappling match. That is part of grappling, is pulling guard. I don't understand. Like, now you're gonna turn into a wrestling match? Is that what it is? Like, you have to wrestle? Like, so now the wrestlers have a better advantage? So if you can wrestle,
maybe it gives Sambo fighters an edge or something, but I think their hope was that it would be less boring if they eliminate guard pulling, because there was that one fight, I think it was Mikey's last title defense. I can't remember what fight it was, or maybe Cade's last title defense. He was fighting a guy who was just pulling guard a lot. And I think there's been a lot of criticism about these grappling matches, and they're doing what they can to try to make they want the rules to accommodate excitement, right? They want these to be more exciting, but I think this was maybe a misfire. I don't know that removing guard pulls from submission grappling is the answer.
That was a big mistake, because there's a lot of grapplers out there that are great off their back. They need to pull guard to engage, right? Like, especially leg lock specialists. This rule confuses me. I don't understand why, even though I don't even want grappling on the cards, but I'm saying, like, I'm going to fight for the grapplers and say, like, you should have guard pulls in grappling. That's part of the sport. It's like taking away elbows in Muay Thai. It's like, what are you doing? Right. It's like, it's kind of similar to that.
And
what?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I was going to say, to clarify, I think you are still allowed to pull guard, but there's just like, it seems like it's almost like it's too specific of a rule to even enforce. I think you're allowed to pull guard, but only if you're like right tied up with the person. You can pull them down into guard, but they don't want people pulling guard and doing the butt scoot, trying to wave people into guard. I think that's what they're trying to avoid, but it just seems like that's such a gray area. When is it, like, how do you decide when that was an okay guard pull and this wasn't? Do you know what I mean?
I guess you got to be touching your opponent. Maybe touch your opponent, then you could pull guard.
Sure.
Yeah. If you put that rule in there like that, I could understand that, right? Maybe you just you add something to it, right? But to be honest with you, I think they should just make combat jiu-jitsu. You should just turn it into combat jiu-jitsu, and now you have something that is gonna get action. Did you see some of the highlights from last weekend's combat jiu-jitsu show?
I didn't.
They were
Is it just
smacking
open hand strikes?
Yeah, they were smacking the hell out of each other, and even the ones that got hit super hard, they were submitting the other girl because they had no other choice, right? They had to defend themselves. But this, like, I was like watching it, I was like, what's going on? Like, why are they telling her she can't pull guard? And it was funny that she didn't know either. That's what.
Yeah,
I
spoke to Tammy after. She said that that had been her whole game plan, of course, and then bumped into Mikey in the lobby of the hotel later that day. Steve and their lovely mother. I forgot her name, but she was very nice.
Mother Buscemi.
She had come to watch them both, and Mikey was saying, he would talk to me a lot about how they weren't really told much in advance about this rule change, and it messed up everything, and he still felt that she was still doing what she had to do within that rule set, and then the ref kept breaking him up. So another grappling controversy, which I don't understand because I'm not really smart about grappling. You know, you could argue I'm not smart about any of these martial arts, but grappling is easily my weakest, guys, on this out of MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai. I'm still pretty new to Muay Thai and kickboxing, but grappling, I have no idea. So when these guys and girls explain it to me, I'm just taking their word for it. But it was weird, and they seem to still be playing around and trying to find the right formula for what's going to make the grappling as exciting and watchable as possible. Maybe John's right. Maybe we need to throw some hands in there as well. Could be.
Maybe.
Or shorten the time. Like, let's say we have it's 10 minutes right now. So maybe we shorten the time to 8 minutes, and then you have a sudden death, like the last 2 minutes, right? If they don't submit each other into 8 minutes, you go to sudden death where it's like EBI. Have you ever watched EBI? When the grappling match is over, right? There's no judge's decision. Like you go to sudden death to where you get to choose. Do you want to be in an armbar position, or do you want to take the back? And if you can't submit them, whoever escapes the fastest wins the match, right? I kind of like that actually, but I don't know. I don't think they're gonna put all that in there because it's just more confusing.
I think it's clear that they're still looking for something, and I hope they can get the right mix, the right balance. Because I like the people involved. They're some of the nicest people I've spoken to when you go to these events, and maybe because they're not facing the prospect of getting punched in the face, it makes them a little bit more engaging, throughout the week. But I like all the characters, Mikey and the Rutolos are so fun as well. And I hope they can. I'm amping on those guys. I'm stoked to see Ty Rutolo against Renier de Ritter. I did get it right, did I this time? Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Got the right boy, right brother. Okay. Well, yeah. I'm sorry. I'll do up my dressing gown. I'm in my dressing gown, by the way. I promised last time I would wear my dressing gown.
You should have told me. I would have worn mine.
Very sultry, man. Yeah, we could all wear them next time. Yeah, it'd be like a kind of a bathhouse vibe.
That should be our uniform for the podcast.
Okay, yeah. All right.
From now on, next show.
Yeah,
it's gonna be the fight. It's gonna be the podcast, but we're gonna be the bathrobe boys. That's what we're gonna.
If you don't show up with your bathrobe, you're not let in. And Drake can wear his towel though, right? That counts.
Yeah, but he's got to cover his nipples, though.
Of course, yeah. We got to keep it PG here, man.
Yeah, you got to keep it. We can't show too much.
All right, well, back to business. I like that they're experimenting with the grappling rule set a bit. I think, as you guys said, this is a good thing. I think they're trying to make it more exciting. There's going to be some growing pains. I think this latest rule change was maybe not the best one. But let's move on from that. I will say, though, guys, keep it civil in the comments. I'm seeing some name calling there. Don't like to see it. We will ban you if you're mean to each other. So just be nice, guys. Please. Let's move on to the next card.
Alvin will kick you
Alvin
out here before you can say another mean word.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Don't make us call the sheriff, all right? It's he'll kick the door down, man. So please keep it civil. There's no need to insult each other. Good.
Keep all your insults towards me. Keep all your insults towards me. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Or insult the fighters like a normal fight fan. No, I'm kidding. Don't insult the fighters either. All right. Well, let's move on to this next card. I feel like
Can I just bring up the man himself? Sorry, before we move on.
Bring him up.
Sexyama. I just wanted to.
Okay. You did say that in your tweet that we were going to talk about him.
Yeah.
Clearly, you have something to say. Say it.
No, I just love this guy, and what a star he was. He was so over. It's I don't know if it came across on the broadcast, but he got the biggest cheer by far out of anyone who fought on that card. Times if you added everyone else's reception up, then times it by about 100. That's what Sexyama got from the crowd. Even when they just showed him sitting next to Mikey Musumeci, and then I think he had a little bit where he waved to everyone. Guy was so over. He had like a bunch of media talked to him as well. I was supposed to interview him after the show, but he had so many commitments. They had to cancel me. I'm not important enough, guys. I was
Shocking.
on the verge of tears. Honestly, I was so excited.
You're not sexy
Yeah.
enough. That's why. You
I'm
gotta turn
not.
up to
No,
sexy.
I'm not. Yeah.
You're not the
Next
first person
time.
whose heart he's broken, I don't think, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as much smoke as I'm blowing up his ass. Oh, he also was in Hong Kong last week, and he just filmed an advert with the Hong Kong Tourism Board. That's how cool this man is. So go check that out. Discover Hong Kong Instagram. You can see Sexyama eating dim sum and hot pot. But the reason I want to bring it up is he actually spoke to Chatri. They got in the cage at the end of the show after the cameras went off, and they had a little bit of a chat for a couple of minutes. I think he put a picture of them on Instagram, but I asked Chatri what they were talking about. Not being too nosy, but yeah, Chatri says they were talking about opponents, and they want to do a South Korea event. You imagine Sexyama might headline that or feature very highly, and Chatri apparently Sexyama said Chatri told him he should go for the world title. So, what do you think? Do we see Sexyama challenge for an interim welterweight belt if Christian's not coming back or something? Am I being crazy?
It's a bit crazy, man. It's a bit crazy, but crazier things have happened. John, take it away. I mean, you're Korean, he's Korean.
Why not?
Give it to us,
Sexyama versus I don't even know who's in that welterweight division, but anybody, and just put him in Korea. That's all you need to do. Put Sexyama against a bath towel. You know what I mean? Like that sells
Drake's
anywhere.
bath towel.
Yeah,
I
exactly. Put Sexyama in there with Drake in a towel, and that will sell in the welterweight division for the belt. To me, it's like you got Sexyama, you got Ham. Imagine Sexyama in the main event, and you got Ham in the interim title fight in the co-main event in a South Korea show. Why would they pass up on that? How could they pass up on that? Because Sexyama is he's one of the most famous fighters in Korea, right? Like he's been on Korean TV for the past 10 years. You know what I mean? Like his daughter's even famous in Korea because they did a show together. And that's how basically he became such a huge star as well. But now he's on TV. He just did that Netflix show where what is it? That Physical 100.
Physical 100.
Yeah, where nobody was on steroids, but I'm just saying that show was great. And I didn't watch it, but that's what I heard. And it's very popular. Sexyama is becoming a bigger star because of that. Because Netflix goes everywhere. You gotta take that. You gotta grab that while it's hot, right? And the best place to do it is in Korea because he will bring in the fandom, man. The first, let's go back in history a little bit. The first UFC event in Korea was sponsored by one of Sexyama's sponsors, main sponsors. And he was on the card as well. You know what I mean? Like he has some power. He has some pull. If anybody can bring a one championship card to South Korea, Sexyama can. And Sexyama, doesn't matter how old he is. I see someone writing that he's 47. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like he's found the fountain of youth. We've seen it.
Well, let me play devil's advocate then. I don't like the idea of him fighting for a title. As cool as it would be to see him win a title at 47, and that would be a great thing for one too, because like you said, John, he's a huge star. But even outside that, being able to say that you have the oldest active champion, this ageless wonder, who we always say Father Time is undefeated. Pull up this angle, Sexyama's beating Father Time. It's a great story. It would be a great moment, but I have to be a realist. He is 47 years old. He did almost lose to Shinya in the last fight until he won. We've seen him lose other fights and won against, guys that are frankly not world-class, I would say. It's impossible for me to imagine him winning a title unless they give him an absolute layup, unless they give him a bath towel. And I don't want to see that. So the counter I would offer to all of those great ideas, put the Ham Seo-hee interim title fight in the main event, whether she's fighting Stamp, Elise, somebody else. Put Sexyama in the co-main event in just kind of a fun non-title context. Doesn't have to be a top contender. Somebody like Sage Northcutt, somebody like Edward Folaying, someone who's kind of maybe not exactly his age, but sort of in a similar spot where they're, big name, but not in title contention. That would be my pick. And that way you get him on the card. You set him up to maybe actually win. And I don't think you would be doing that if you give him a top contender at welterweight at 47 years old. You, in fact, maybe set him up to lose, which would deflate the entire atmosphere of the night, So That would be my counter. As exciting as it would be to see him win the title, and I would love to see it happen. I can't see it happening. But
I agree with
think we
you.
all
Yeah,
agree.
I think I do. Yeah, I think let's find Sexy couple of guys he can beat. You know, if he's going to retire, he told me he wants to fight till he's 50. So got a couple years left. Let's have some fun. Yeah, let's
you know,
not
I
see
just
Sexyama getting knocked out by Soldic or whatever.
exactly right, exactly, or Murad getting grappled to death by Murad. You know, it's and I just interviewed Edward Flying the other week, and he once again called for that fight. I don't know if that's the one to make, but I think
like
something
that.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, or Sage if
He's
he wins.
calling
I
for
think
Sexyama.
Yeah, he wants to fight him. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
That's
That's a
that
good
makes
fight.
sense to me. Yeah, it's two guys who have given a lot to the sport over the years. You know, in Flying's case specifically to one championship, but they've done a lot. Still, I think have something to give. You know, are still kind of names in their sport. It makes sense, something like that to me, rather than putting
I was
Sexyama in
thinking
there with Soldic
Sexyama
wrestling.
with John Wayne Parr in a mixed rules thing. You know,
That could be
some
cool,
sort
something
of,
like that. Yeah, for sure. Something
although
like that.
John
I think
Wayne
is
is completely shot. You know, his hip, and he did retire, but I'm
Yeah,
sure he'd
man.
do it. And you know, they want to go to Australia, maybe do an event there. You could have some fun with that, but this has got to be in Korea. Wherever Sexyama comes back, got to be
you
South
do it
Korea.
in Korea. You got Ham. You got a bunch of Korean fighters as well that are like ranked fighters.
King Ji-won, right?
Yeah, we got a bunch of them, right? Yeah, you got a bunch of. You can put them on the card. You could put some like new up and coming Koreans on the undercard. It will draw, man, especially in
what's
Seoul.
the chance,
And it gives
John,
you a
of them
reason for you
doing
guys
it?
to come to Korea.
Oh yeah, I wanted to.
I love
But
Korea,
is
man.
it likely? Would they get this?
It's all about finding the partner to bring the promotion to Korea. And I think Sexyama is the only person that can do it. Because he has his own agency as well in Korea. His own like talent agency, if people didn't know. And I think he has like the connections to bring the people into the boardroom with Chatri and get a deal done. Because I think that's what's been the problem in the past couple of years, that they would have talks, like early talks, and then they would announce a card in Korea. We've seen it a bunch of times, right? You guys remember that they would put out the schedule and they'd be like, oh, they're going to Seoul or Korea in this year, like in November or whatnot. And it never happens. But I think now with Sexyama in his position and his popularity has grown probably to the biggest like height so far.
You have to do it now.
Yeah, you have to do it now.
They wait too long.
Sexy.
Yeah. I like the idea of treating Sexyama as sort of almost like a collaborator, a business partner, not just an athlete they're looking to capitalize on, but like use this guy's knowledge, use his connections, because he has both of those things, right? And I would agree that now is the time to do this. And I don't want to knock one, but they have made errors in terms of timing with things before, I think, where they don't strike while the iron's hot, as the expression goes. I think they got to do this soon. Time is of the essence with Sexyama. We've said it many times. He's 47. You don't have a lot of time left with this guy. Make your money off him. Let him make his money. Go to Seoul. Do it now. It seems obvious. That's my take. Anonymous, thank you for that generous donation. We appreciate you too. I put it up on screen. That's such an awesome thing. Can't thank you enough, guys, for the support.
Every week, Anonymous is hooking it up. Every week,
it's an amazing thing.
Guy.
It's
and he's really anonymous.
I know, so humble, right? So giving, so generous, benevolent.
I'm starting to think that it's the Cambodian king.
Maybe, man. Who knows?
I'm starting to think it's a Cambodian king that's anonymous, man. Remember, he went off the edge for a little bit, so he's kind of like anonymous. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just saying. This is my speculation.
Man. But it's a good thing. Whoever you are, Anonymous, we appreciate your generosity and your support. Thank you for coming back. And guys, thank you for watching and subscribing and liking. If you haven't already, please do that. It helps us, continue to do this. Anything else about Sexyama, guys? I feel like we could talk about this guy all day. He's extremely sexy.
How damn sexy he was. Yeah. The guy was looking fly.
Yeah, he looked good, man. His outfits, that's another thing, is he was always a sexy guy, but as he's become more successful and more popular and wealthier, it's afforded him the ability to really take that sexiness up a level, right? By buying the nicest watches, buying the nicest suits, the tans, this guy, he's at the peak of his sexiness. You got to do it now,
Yo,
he is.
It's funny. I've seen Sexy. Did you guys watch Sexyama fight before?
I saw the fights
live. Yeah.
The ones I've seen all the ones in one, but Yeah, not live.
Oh, I have seen him fight live, actually. Yeah,
we
he
saw,
fought at
yeah.
1X. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that.
Well,
of course.
so
Yeah.
you guys seen him live, right? And was that in Japan?
That was Singapore.
Okay, Singapore. Well, I don't know if you experienced what I experienced, but when he fought in Korea for the UFC, and this was like when he was becoming like a massive star with his daughter, and they were doing that TV show. There was people in the crowd dressed like Sexyama. I was just like, that blew my mind. Like there was dudes dressed like Sexyama. Like legit, not like as like their fan costume dressed, like that was their style. Like this is how they dressed normally, and they looked like Sexyama. It made me crack up so bad.
Man.
Like, Nick, now we're gonna get flagged for pornography now, man. You got to take this down.
Yeah.
It's too
That's
sexy.
food
man.
porn, dude. That's food porn.
Yeah,
this is sexy
man.
in Hong Kong. He's doing the dim sum. He's getting a suit made, tailored suit. He's on a tram.
That's how you take off sunglasses. If you ever
hot.
need to know how to take off sunglasses, just watch some of his videos, man. That guy knows how to take off.
I'm just so sad I missed it. He was in my city and I missed it, and then I missed him in Singapore. You know, I'm 0-2, guys. You know,
you could have gone this little food tour with him or whatever it was.
You could have been
like the host or something, man.
I may have died though if I had dim sum with Sexyama. I may have died and gone to heaven. You know,
that's true. I mean, at the very least, you know, your life's all downhill from there. It'll never get better.
Why is he so funny to me? He makes me laugh because it's like,
you know what it is,
like,
man?
He's trying to be sexy all the time. He's like the LL Cool J of Asia.
But you know what it is,
like,
man? I think
it's too sexy, and it just makes me laugh, like everything that he does.
But I think he's really self-aware. Like he knows he's obviously like a good-looking guy, but he knows that the sexiness is also kind of, it's like a bit of a joke. People like to laugh about it, right? So he knows that, and he plays into it. I think, you know, he's not like totally oblivious to that. He knows what's going on, so I think he leans into it and is like cultivating this very specific image that has worked perfectly, man. He's a genius, man. He's a sexy genius.
So
yeah,
he's doing his thing, man. Props to Sex. I hope he does bring a one championship to Korea, because I've never been to a one championship show ever. So like, I would like to go. And what's the best is to watch Sexyama fight and watch Ham fight. I've seen both of those fighters fight live, but yeah, in the one cage for the first time, that would be the perfect location, man. Let's see.
That would be awesome.
Let's hope.
I think it's a great idea, man. We'll see if they have the bandwidth to pull something like that off going into a new market like Korea, an important market, while they're trying to make this big statement in the US. I feel like that's consuming a lot of their bandwidth, as I said right now. But you know, we'll see. It would be awesome. I would love to see that happen. And I think if they're going to do it, they have to do it now with Sexyama. It's just the stars are aligning, right?
Yeah. That tanning cannot be good for her skin.
Is that a spray tan though? I feel like that's not like a natural tan or even a tanning booth. That's some kind of oil booth. Or something.
That's tanning
booth, man.
And spray tan. That's like everything put together.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. Whatever it is, it looks good.
Yeah. Does it?
Well,
does it?
I think he's man, for sure.
He looks like he looks like a leather bag. Come on, man. I'm gonna be real with you guys. He looks like a leather bag. Yeah, he's
a designer handbag, man.
He does. That's
Gucci, man. That's Versace.
So funny.
Well, let's talk about this next card, man. Before we get, this is starting to get out of hand.
It's getting too sexy, guys. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, Alvin, I need you to ban Nick.
Off.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about this next card. We're already well past an hour here. We'll do a full preview of the card a little closer. Obviously, these cards, as we know, are very much subject to change. So it's possible, you know, in unpacking some of these matchups, they may not even happen. Hopefully we don't get too much of that ahead of this card, because as we've discussed, the last card really took a beating, losing the Arjun Bular fight, losing the main event with Rodtang at the last minute. Hopefully this one stays intact, because I think we can all agree if this one loses even 1-2 of the bigger fights on the lineup, we're looking at another kind of low quality card, which is unfortunate. And that's not to say the action won't be good, but it needs, I think we all feel it needs something more. And then if it loses something big, it's going to be rough. Nick, I think you're bringing the fights up. Thank you for that. I was just going to see if you could do that.
No problem.
Let's start with the main event. I mean, I think, you know, as much as there are knocks on the lineup for this card, that's a quality main event right there. No question that Jonathan Haggerty is facing an uphill climb against Nong O. Even at, you know, his age, Nong O is still one of the best fighters in the world, maybe the best pound for pound fighter in Muay Thai, depending who you ask. A lot of people think that way. And Haggerty, of course, is a dog in every fight. You know, his last fight, his bantamweight debut was quite close, but he did win it. I think it was a split decision. This is a great matchup. Nick, let's go to you first. I mean, are you satisfied with this, just specifically as a main event? Is this a prime-worthy main event?
Of course it is. I think it's fine, but I think you need another one. You need another title fight at least. You can never. It's really tough to headline a show, I think, with a Muay Thai title fight or kickboxing without an MMA one to back it up, or without another Super Series one. It's just the way it has always been in one championship. You know, when we see you have some incredible champions, some incredible fights, but there's always, it's like when the UFC go crazy with they'll especially if it's like they'll do like a Volkanovski title fight, and then they'll add 2 other title fights to back it up because they felt like Volkanovski wasn't a draw. He might be now after that Makachev fight, but when they feel that the main event fighter champion is not a draw, they'll stack the title fights to make the card the draw. The title fights are the draw, like 3, bang, 1, 2, 3. So I think one championship is smart with that as well. And this is one of those cards that needs, in my opinion, you cannot just sell it on Nongo v Haggerty. I think as much as I love both of those guys, yeah, you need another title fight at least. I would say 2 more. Give me another couple of Super Series championship fights. I would love to see that. And also, if one of these guys falls out, you have a backup main event. If this falls through, what the hell is the main event? It doesn't even have a co-main event. You know, Halil Amir against a guy debuting who is very good, you know, and he trains at Tiger, but that's not a co-main event. There is nothing else you can replace it with. I don't think there's even anyone on the card they could like move into that spot. Maybe Han Seo-hee or Asa 10 Pao, but no, come on. It's dangerous. They need to. If I'm matchmaking one, I'm getting out the checkbook. I'm finding Tawanchai, saying, Mr. Tawanchai, what do you want and who do you want? Sign that check and get Tawanchai in there as a backup, as emergency, or anyone else. It must be someone. Let's go through their champion roster.
Think about all the champions that are available right now. Off the top of my head, I know JDB is ready. I don't know if he's ready to fight in less than a month. I know he's training, but I think he's eager enough that he would take a fight in less than a month. I think Xiang Jingnan is probably ready to fight again soon. She hasn't fought in a while. There's several champions they could call on, I think.
Where's Tang Kai?
Jump in here.
What's he doing?
That's an obvious one. I have no idea what the plan is with him. And Smilla, you got 2 champions now, Tang Kai and Smilla, who have not fought since they won the title. Smilla, I think, was May, and Tang Kai was maybe July or August. So we're closing in on a year for both of them. And they've both just vanished. And there's not really any obvious reason as to why, if they're being saved for something, if they're injured, if they're busy. But there are people that they could call on to jump on this card. And I think any of those fighters, even just adding one of them, would give this card so much more oomph, you know, and protect them against disaster. It's, Nick, like you said, adding multiple title fights to a card is not just a way to make the card better. It's a form of insurance, right? Because if something falls through, you have your bases covered. There's still something to look forward to.
Look, Haggerty has dropped out of 2 of his last 3 fights. And then I don't think he made weight for that bantamweight debut. Is that right? Or he definitely had some issues with the hydration test.
He made weight, yeah, he did.
I mean, I think he was a late one. He failed the first time around. Yeah, but he's had issues with the weight, and you know he dropped out of the Grand Prix, and then I think his fight before that. There's no guarantee Haggerty making it, and they've had some bad luck lately. What if disaster strikes? There's an injury to Nongo. Then you're going to have Haggerty versus Han Seo-hee, the main event
on Prime Video.
Card? No,
yeah, and you know these Prime cards are for everybody, but they are really for Americans, right? That's the whole point. This is a US TV deal. I'm not saying they're not important for everybody else, but the network, they're being tailored to this big American network, right? Prime Video is in the name, or I guess they're calling them fight nights now, but to have, you know, a British guy and a Chinese guy in the main event, you know, what, for an interim title in that instance? I mean, there's just no way that goes well. And I saw someone say, you know, Pet Tanong would be a good one. This card, that's a perfect option. Whether he's
Pet Tanong, Ramazanov. How about
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Or even the Akimoto rematch. I'm biased because I stand Hiroki Akimoto pretty hard, but that was a good fight. It was not super close, but reasonably close. I don't think people would complain about that rematch. Any of those. I guess Haggerty did miss weight. I don't remember that. I thought he made
I think
bantamweight,
he
but
did. I'm just gonna double check,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
What's the Panda doing? Why don't they just line her up to fight
That's
somebody?
that's what I'm saying. She should be ready right now.
Yeah.
JDB's ready. Tankai, I think, is ready. Smila
Joseph
Sandel is probably
Lasiri,
ready.
the
Lasiri's ready.
strawweight Muay
Petsanog's
Thai
ready.
champ, right?
Yeah. Why? And it's a kind of two-sided coin situation here where it's not just like one would benefit from adding another title fight, but you have like several champions who are chomping at the bit to come fight and defend their titles. I just don't know why this isn't happening. I don't want to be too critical. I'm sure there's reasons, but it just seems so obvious to me to put another title fight or another 2 title fights on this card. A month or 2 ago, every Prime card had 3 title fights on it. And now I hope this doesn't become the norm.
Do you
Haggerty
think
missed weight just from our
damn.
blog. Yeah.
Okay, well that's an even huger gamble then, right? Missed weight,
Yeah.
has pulled out of other fights, and I mean, frankly, I'm a huge Haggerty fan, but like I said, that was a close fight that a lot of people thought he lost against. I think it was Vladimir Kuzmin, right? That was a close one. I don't know. I mean, I think there are probably some people, as good as this Nongo versus Haggerty fight looks on paper, there are some people who would fairly say that Haggerty hasn't quite earned this opportunity. So, I mean, I'm just, saying a million different reasons why this needs another fight. I don't know. That seems like there's options. If you guys could see anything added to this, any fight at all, what would it be? Nick, you start.
Yeah, why don't we start Petsanong v Akimoto or Petsanong v Alaverdi Ramazanov? Sorry, Ilyas Enahachi. That's who I mean. Yeah, Ilyas came back and made his bantamweight debut look good. He'll do that for sure. I think one of the Thai guys, one of the Thai champions, Petsanong or Tawan Chai, because it's Thai crowd. Thai crowd love their champs, and I'll already say hearing some stuff about some of these fights already changing up a little bit. So the curse is beginning. It's not hit the main event yet, but we need to get some insurance policy out here. I feel they're just trying to get through this one because the US card is coming up 2 weeks after this one, so they're putting all the eggs in that basket. But you gotta deliver. You gotta deliver on this. I don't want to be critical. You know how much I love One Championship. Yeah, but that last card didn't pan out too well, and to have back-to-back bad prime cards, it's not going to be good going into the US.
That's it, right? You want momentum.
Dampen
You don't want people to forget about one. I think that's already a risk when you're waiting a month between these big cards, right? One only becomes a huge part of the combat sports conversation for about a week, a month, just because that's when their cards are, right? The lead up to it and the fallout of it. So you risk kind of losing momentum anyway. And if you have 2 kind of poorer quality cards back to back, it's just, to me, that's not the springboard you'd want for something as important as the US debut. John, is there anything that you would add to this, like off the top of your head, that seems really obvious?
Yes, I have an obvious thing to say, which is I see what they're doing. I have the vision. The vision. The vision is that they're setting up a major event in the summer. And that's why we're getting these kind of lower key cards right now. Of course, the US debut has to be a big card, but if you look at it, we have some low key cards, right? Like this one, the one before this one, and then maybe the one after is kind of going to be low key as well. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with that card, but I feel like they're setting it up for like one of those big like 1X type events, right? Where you have like 2 events, 7 title fights type thing, where it's just going to be a massive, massive show. That could be possibly a reason why they're doing that, why these cards are kind of light, so to say. Or maybe they're just fulfilling obligations to Amazon, right? And they don't really have to put on like these extravagant cards anymore. That could be also, because we've seen it with other promotions, right? When they get signed these big deals with broadcasters, they're just filling cards so they could fill obligations, right? Fulfill obligations, and maybe that's a possible reason why we're getting this.
That's a good
I have
theory.
no idea, but I'm hoping that they're setting it up to where they're gonna do a massive event like in June or something, where we're gonna have like, title fight after title fight. We're gonna be like, boo, blow our minds, you know what I mean? In Japan or wherever. Maybe they're gonna do it in Las Vegas or I don't know where. Maybe they're gonna have their first show in Europe or something, right? I don't know, but I see something coming. I see like a major earth-shattering type of event that one is cooking up.
I hope that's true. I like that idea, and I hope it's right. I'm just not sure like what the occasion would be. 1X was the 10-year anniversary, right? And 1 Century was their 100th show, or whatever.
Return to Tokyo. It's been a while.
Yeah, that's true. But is that a bigger deal though than the debut in America? Because I feel like the US card is great, but it's still 11 fights compared to Century and 1X. Those were like 30 fights, 25 fights or something. You know what I mean? And broken down into multiple parts.
Well, my man Dark Side here points out, that Malakin and Bular was rescheduled to the summer. I asked Chatri, he said summer, not May. So maybe GHK is right. Maybe we're getting a mega card somewhere. I wouldn't bet against it. Yeah, Japan.
I hope so.
They need to get back to Japan, I think. It would be so cool, to go back to Japan. So do I, yeah. Because I'm a bit worried. There. Yeah, like we haven't heard any locations for the shows the rest of this year, and I've heard maybe Manila will be back. Someone said last show in Singapore of the year, I think I saw on Instagram. So we're not going back to Singapore. I think that might have been Prem. I don't want to dob Prem him in if he's spilled the beans on that, but I don't think they're going to do Singapore again. So maybe one more Manila, but are we just going to have Lumpini the rest of the year? I hope not. Like, as much as I like Lumpini, I want the big arenas again. I want the new cities. Yeah, let's go back to Tokyo and then let's go to Seoul or somewhere. Yeah, John, if it wasn't Seoul, where would they go, do you think?
Nowhere else. It would be Seoul. Like, why would you do it anywhere else? There's no reason to.
Well, Tokyo could be good, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Tokyo would be great. You know what I mean? Like,
but I mean, if they go to a South Korea event,
yeah. If they go to South Korea, you're gonna have to do it in Seoul or somewhere near that vicinity, right? It could be Incheon, where the airport is, maybe there. But you need to go to where like most of the people are, and most of the population is in that area, in Seoul and the outskirts of Seoul. So it'd just be easier to get to the event. Maybe they're looking to go to Macau. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like that could be a possibility. Or maybe nice the big event will be in Shanghai or Beijing or something.
Macau would be so good. Because I could just get a ferry. I could get so many of them to come over on the ferry and do some stuff in the SCMP office, studio. That'd be fun.
Yeah, lots of ferries out there, right?
Yeah, plenty of islands.
Is that a joke?
Nice. No, I'm just saying. Like, there's a lots of ferries going back and forth.
I wasn't sure if you were like trying to insult people in Hong Kong or something, but
going back to the card right here. It's like bottom heavy though. There's some good matchups,
you do have looking at it. Mung Bo is there, and the Denise fight is good. Obviously, Halil Amir made a real statement in his debut. He knocked out Timofey. I mean, there's no question there's good fighters on this card, but I think what we're all saying is it's just lacking some more big fights with real like championship ramifications. And if I could just offer a quick counter to your theory, John, I think that's a good theory that they're building to something. But they have like so many champions, so many, that even if they're putting together a huge card this summer with, say, 6 title fights on it, they should still have 3 or 4 champions who are ready to fight on the next 2 cards in my book, right? Like, and if they are doing a mega card, this is not a knock on anybody, but do you really think that, say, Smila Sundell is going to be part of the mega card in Seoul or the mega card in Tokyo or Qatar or wherever they end up doing it? I don't think she'd be a big part of that.
Dark Side is talking about Toa, right? Is that in Qatar?
Yeah.
Toa?
Yeah.
I think that is probably the location.
But then they don't need all of their champions for that. To me, that doesn't explain away the lack of quality here. And I think the theory that we've seen that maybe they're just kind of doing the bare minimum for Prime Video, they're just doing what they're contractually obligated to do, is a good theory. But then on the other hand, you've got all these champions that want to defend their belts, fighters that want to fight. When are they going to get to fight, right? They got to find a balance somewhere here. But I mean, looking at this card, we've established that it's weak and it needs more. Which fights are you guys most excited for? John, I'll go to you first. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this. We're running pretty long already, but I mean, let's just kind of crash through a few of these. Which ones are you most pumped for?
The best matchup probably on the card would be Bokang versus Hiroba. That would probably be the best matchup. But I'm looking forward to seeing Denise back fighting again, as well as Izzy Fitikefu, who is Robert Whitaker's one of Robert Whitaker's main training partners, and of course Bang Bo. But like Mark Zangao's son is fighting as well. He's going to be the first fight of the night. He's fighting his grandfather. It looks like. I don't know what's going on with it. Look at the picture. Look, come on. Am I lying or not?
We saw this guy Matthias fight and won already, and I can't remember what happened in his fight, but I do remember him. I think he won. I think he had a good fight. I'm not totally sure, but I do remember the name. Certainly. Yeah. I mean, there's some good fights on here, right? You mentioned the Denise fight is good. You know, Denise has not gotten all the results she wants. She looked good in her last fight, but she had the tough fights with Ham, obviously. I think she's kind of a bit of distance away from a title shot right now. This could kind of put her in the right direction. And then the Mung Bo fight with Cardoso. I don't know how you say her first name, if it's Diane or something like that, but that fight, I mean, they're both riding knockout wins at strawweight. I feel like that might be a title eliminator, actually, even though not a ton is being made about that. I just don't know who else other than the winner of that fight deserves a title shot in that weight class. And yeah, I don't know. I think that makes that interesting, right? So there are some title relevant fights on this card, but yeah, I don't know.
I gotta say,
was I dead wrong about Matthias?
No. This guy's 38. He's
never fought in one championship.
Never fought in one. He's 38 years old. His nickname is El Rasta. El Rasta.
El Rasta.
I like this guy.
Yeah.
No bio for him yet.
He kind of reminds me of like an older version of Guido Canetti, but Guido Canetti is much older than him.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Because there is Guido Canetti is also from Argentina, right?
Yeah, he is. He's like 42, I believe, Guido Canetti. So older than him.
So he hasn't fought one. Well,
so it looks like he's first fought.
Oh my god!
A year
Look
ago,
at the people he fought.
37.
Oh yikes! Where did they find this guy?
For Mark.
What Mark about this? When was the Mark Jr. fight first scheduled? That was supposed to be the Manila show. I think that's why I remember his name. He was supposed to fight. He was supposed to fight on that card, and that was one of the fights that got canceled. Yeah.
Mark Jr. He can scrap though. You know what I mean? Let's see if he could beat up an old man.
We'll see, man. I mean, he gets to practice with his dad, right? I mean, that's got to be a good warm up.
Yeah, that's a good warm up.
It's going to be interesting to see what's going on with Team Lakai these days, right? Because there's been this exodus. A lot of the top fighters have left the gym, and Stephen Lohman, Edward Flying raised a good point that he doesn't even really train there full time. He does a lot of his training at other gyms in the Philippines too. So, I would say he's the best fighter left at that gym right now, and he's not even really a full timer. So I'm interested to see what Team Lakai is capable of. This is a real turning of the page for them, a new generation for them. They've got some young fighters, but do they still have it? Does that team still have it? Can they still reach championship heights? And I think Mark Jr. is one of the guys that's going to be able to answer some of those questions for us.
Man, it's a different day and age. It's a different day and age when, remember when Team Lakai was running the show, it's a different day and age now, but never say never, man. Cause Mark, he coached those guys into championship level fighters, man. And he knows what he's doing. So
he does, man. He does. Man. Yeah. Well, damn, guys. Anything else? Any other cruel remarks to make about this next card? Do we want to talk a little more crap before we call it, or?
I was just going to say, Lito Adewang's been posting.
In Thailand,
I think he's gone as well. He's in Thailand. So I think it looks like he's gone from Lakai, or if he's just taking a sabbatical. I don't know, but it's like another one gone. Yeah, Lito's.
Yeah, it does. It's one of these things where they've all been so classy about leaving, and they've all said there's nothing really personal going on. They've just left for personal reasons, looking for new looks and stuff. And I want to believe that, and I think it's possible that's true. But if one way or the other, all the best fighters have left this gym. The people that are still at that gym have lost all their best training partners, the most experienced voices in the gym, the championship quality fighters who have had belts around their waist, have been in title fights, fought in big arenas. You don't have that experience inside Team Lakai anymore, and that's gonna change things.
Mark Sangel posted on Facebook, I think, morning practice. Let's go get it. And I looked at the lineup. I did not recognize a single one of them, apart from Janlo, his son. And
I love that team, man.
Huge,
yeah,
it's gonna be a huge thing for them. Like this new generation, like you said, gonna have none of that experience in the room anymore. They could fold entirely, or they could rise to the occasion. Let's see what happens. I'm eager.
And the other thing is, not to be a pessimist. I don't want to sing their funeral dirge already, but the thing is, they had all these big world-class fighters at the gym. That's good for business, right? You get other young kids coming in. They see Edward Falang and Kevin Bellingon and all these guys that have won titles at the gym. You want to train there because you can become a champion there. And even if you're just a fanboy who's trying to learn some jiu-jitsu, you can learn it around these guys who are famous in your country, right? It's cool. You don't have that anymore. In my opinion, there's less reason to come to Team Lakai. And I hope that's not true. I wish that team the best, right? But there's no questioning this is a decisive moment for them. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens for that gym. And I think that John Lowe fight next month, that's going to be one of the first bits of information we have as to, what the future holds for Team Lakai.
His name is Mark Jr. Come on, man.
Mark Jr. I'm sorry, Mark Jr.
Mark
MJ.
Jr.
Yeah.
Mark Jr. That's what I call him. Mark Jr.
All right. Mark Jr., Steve Buscemi. I got to keep track of all this, man.
Exactly. That's what the podcast is for. The people watching, you guys got to keep up, Steve Buscemi. He's the champ.
All right. Well, maybe we can hit a few fan questions here before we call it. What do you guys say? There's a lot to unpack here. I'm going to scroll backwards. I think we got a lot of it, but
let's see.
Let's see. Nick, if you see anything you want to throw up, feel free.
Takeru versus Rodtang, Ichi is mentioning. Do we think maybe we could see Takeru in one championship? I know that maybe he's signed with. Who was it? He's gone to some weird promotion in Europe. Was it Takeru?
He went to some Muay Thai promotion over there in the UK, I think.
Yeah, well, that's too bad because that would be a huge fight for one to bring him in, and that would be an awesome one for Tokyo, right? If they could do that there,
that's right.
That'd be huge. Yeah.
But I don't think he wants to. I don't think Takeru wants to be locked in exclusively with anybody anymore. That's the problem.
At this stage of his career, that's fair, I think. And Rodtang's next fight, it's funny. My first instinct when I saw this guy Edgar Tavares was that's just a layup for Rodtang. They just wanted to win, but the thing that didn't connect for me right away is this is happening on Cinco de Mayo in the States, and Tavares is the only Mexican fighter on the card. I think they just wanted a Mexican fighter on the card, and we're going through the options and found him and thought, let's match him up with Rodtang. I don't think they're really trying to set Rodtang up so much as they just wanted a Mexican presence on Cinco de Mayo, which is fair, I think.
Singapore was fun. Triniton, 2001. It always is. I had a bad week in terms of everything went wrong. Technically, the camera didn't work for the weigh-ins again. If it's not the Wi-Fi, it's the camera. So hopefully we'll get the weigh-ins next time. I turned up late to the show because I thought it started at 8, not 7. A lot of things went wrong, but it was still fun. Yeah, and I try and take it as a learning experience, but it was definitely very stressful. I didn't have any help with me. Tom was in Canada. No yo-yo this time. I need some. Hopefully, get someone out with me again. Maybe in Denver we'll be reunited. So it's just a lot of work, isn't it? Though when you're trying to run the video, the articles, social media, and then I'm also doing other stuff for my job back in Hong Kong. So yeah, it was still fun, and I met some cool people like always. And it's all about networking.
There's another one for you, Nick.
Yeah, I heard
Teal's fighting on LFA.
Someone mentioned that he might have even been on himself online. So earlier that TL is and I saw Teal wrote a post saying he's got plenty of fights left in him. So that would make sense. Maybe a little bit premature, but I think if one know they're never going back to Myanmar, Yangon. Do they need Burmese fighters? especially if Teal was on a bit of a losing streak there. I think 2 fights kid, or he was sort of, he wasn't 2 fights, but he's Ong's boy, so I would have kept him. I'm surprised they have let him go. Actually, I thought Ong La would have a lot of sway, to be honest. And he didn't.
They may
look
have seen.
terrible. He had a tough fight
They may have
against Pakatu, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah. They may have seen that as a good thing, though. I know Ong La and Teal both love one championship, and the feeling is mutual. But Teal's based in the States now. Maybe he's just looking at, I'm not getting the results I want in one right now. I need a fresh start. I can fight in the States this way, do a few fights in LFA, see how it goes. Maybe he comes back to one. Maybe Myanmar opens up in a few years, hopefully. It's a very volatile situation there now, of course, but you just don't know. And maybe they just see this as the right move for now. They may have been all
Maybe
for
he's
it.
trying to go to the UFC.
Maybe. JHK, there's one for you about Itsuki Hirata. Do you think going to Bangtao will fix all her problems?
Nah, who knows? You know what I mean? Like I said it earlier. I think it's all up to her and what she wants. You know what I mean? And seems like she likes New York, so most likely we're gonna see her back there training. But yeah, going to like one gym or another gym or this gym or that gym, it's hard to say, because it's up to them. No one's gonna force you to do anything. So for her, she's still super young. And if she's really, really, her goal is to really become like one of the best fighters in the world and to become a champion, then she'll figure it out. You know what I mean? But but she has a lot going for her already, without even having like any kind of title or anything. Like, how many fighters have a monster sponsorship in one championship? I think she's the only one.
She's one of them, certainly, yeah. But on the other hand, she is, as we've said, she's attractive. She seems to be outgoing on social media. She's clearly good at like the social media influencing kind of thing that a lot of fighters end up doing. But she is initially famous because of her fighting career. If she isn't fighting as much, if she's not getting the results she wants, does that affect her, like her visibility and her popularity? Is that going to drop off if she starts, failing to fight and failing to win? I think it's important that she commits to fighting too, personally, but I guess whatever she wants, right?
Of course.
Well, I'm going to look if there's any more questions here. There's lots of comments, lots of people talking about Takeru. Apparently that might just be a one fight deal in Europe. That would be cool. Thank you guys for sharing that information. I think we've got most of the questions. We've been pretty diligent. Yeah, guys, if you've got anything else to add, now would be the time. I'm scrolling up through like a million comments trying to see anything we missed.
I can get out of here. It's all right. It's getting late for John over there. And
that's
South
true.
Korea.
Yeah, I forgot it's the middle of the night for you guys. I'm over here drinking coffee, having the time of my life, and you guys are probably falling asleep. All right, guys. Well, obviously, pleasure to be talking with both of you guys. Thanks to everyone that joined us. Thanks for the questions. Thank you for liking and subscribing if you have already. If you haven't, what are you waiting for? I mean, it's so much fun here. You don't want to miss this, do you? Like and subscribe, and join us next time.
Gowns,
exactly.
Next week we'll be in the gowns.
Oh man,
is it? No, bathrobe. Gown is like for women. Bathrobe.
You can wear whatever you want, JHK. Kimono, gown, bathrobe. Whatever you want to call it, man.
I'll wear my nipple clamps.
Okay, well, maybe draw the line at nipple clamps. Or you can cover them with the bathrobe. That's fine. You can wear whatever you want underneath. I assume you're wearing them right now. No, I'll be in Denver, yeah. I'm going to look at plane tickets to Denver probably this week or next week.
I'm hoping to be there too. So if you're there, Dark Side, if you're in America, I don't know, just say, hey, come say hello.
Yes.
Anyway.
Wear your bathrobe.
All right, guys. Well, JHK over there, tell us what you got coming up, man. Where can we find you?
Everybody that's watching right now, the best thing you can do to support me is to go to the All-Star and download the app and and follow me on social media, JHK MMA on Twitter, at least. Other than that, like I said, go to the All-Star YouTube channel and subscribe to that, and you'll see all my interviews. But we'll see you guys next week. We'll have more to talk about. I believe there will be some breaking news happening in the next couple of days.
So I've heard some whispers too. I hope so. Nick, and how about you? Anything in the pipeline? Anything you want to warn us about? What's going on with you, man?
I've heard no whispers, so I'm intrigued. what
right.
these whispers will be. But no, I don't have much coming up. I'm about to do the Hong Kong Sevens rugby tournament this weekend, so I'm not being very active with any MMA content. Sorry, guys, but I'm sure Tom will hold down the fort. He's
You
got
bet.
Eddie Abasolo Friday. I've got a bit of content I'll be putting out from Singapore in terms of written content you can find on scmp.com/martial arts. And yeah, just make sure you keep checking back there. We're overhauling that section very slowly, so there's going to be some new features on there. So yeah, if you like your content written, not spoken, go please click on scmp.com/martial arts. All the articles there are free. Don't worry about a paywall. I know scmp.com has a paywall. Not on scmp.com/martial arts. You can have as much martial arts content as you want for free.
It's
Go
a
do it.
buffet. It's a smorgasbord. Free fight
Yeah.
content. I mean, what could be better? Head over there. And as Nick said, I've got Eddie Abasolo for an interview later this week. I'm going to try to sneak in another interview this week if I can, depending who's available. And certainly I'll be doing some writing as well. So you can find my writing there at the address Nick just said. I think that about covers it, guys. Any closing remarks before we hit this finish button?
Get
Nothing
a
poignant,
co-main
nothing
event.
poetic.
No.
Jeez. Okay, that's
Yeah, get a co-main event. One fight night 9. Please give us another title fight. Please, one championship. Please.
I think that's a perfect way to end it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing. We'll see you back next week.